So Carrie Hummingbird is here on Skills Not Pills Live today. And I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Eva Vennari. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the title of today's talk is Owning Your Beauty. And the topic is Stop the Insane Cycle of Using Beauty Treatments that Cover Up Serious Illness and Keep Us Confused About Premature Aging. So Eva is on a mission to dismantle the status quo of the sickness industry. Having spent most of her adult life suffering from all kinds of conditions and fighting for her sanity, she decided to take matters into her own hands. That's when everything shifted and her body went from being the enemy to being her best and most devoted ally and partner. Eva now teaches worldwide how sensitive people can take charge of their well-being and thrive in their lives. And of all the topics that we've had on here, Eva, I think it's interesting that this one had the most resistance energetically, because I always look at this kinds of thing as energetic resistance, to being posted. Now, isn't that interesting? You must be touching on something that's key in the underpinnings of our current reality that we're going to expose now. So I'm excited about this talk, actually, that we finally got live.
I like that idea. That sounds good.
Yeah. So tell us about your journey of discovering what you now teach. What was your journey like? Tell us a little bit more details about it.
It was a confusion factor. And at a young age, I had developed all kinds of anomalies in my health. And you kind of do the two-prong approach. You go to the doctor and you see, hey, doc, what's going on? They draw the blood. They look down the throat and up every orifice. And they're like, hey, on paper, you look mostly good. We think it's all in your head. So, that confusion of, I know something's going on. I don't feel good. And then eventually that turns into I don't really look that good either. And so that second prong was trying to make myself look better. And that the mirage, or it really is, it's a mirage of making yourself feel better by looking better and doing the best you can. And the two-prong approach was my journey. And it was very confusing because on one hand, what the doctor was saying, oh, things are looking okay on paper, but on the other hand, I can see the evidence of it in the mirror and feeling it in my body. Things don't look right. So that was my experience. And it was about putting the two together when things really started to make sense.
So now, how did you start putting things together, so to speak? Like, what were some of your tips that, hey, there's something I'm doing that isn't right here?
It wasn't an obvious ding all of a sudden overnight, moment. It was more like a gradual sinking in. And you get the occasional really educated person who's working on you beauty treatment wise, and they say, oh, well, it's because you're not hydrated. Your skin is really dry because you're not hydrated. And that kind of, that seems like a small thing, but we forget about that. It's like how important and vital water is to our everyday health. Well, that has to do with flushing. Right. I know. While we were doing our technical support, let's get some water.
We got water.
We get some water. Yeah. So it was the little things that just add a little bit at a time. And I think that's how my consciousness has the ability to let things get in, is a little bit at a time. Because if it's too big, I'm like, forget it. But yeah, it was little steps along the way.
Wow. So now, you were talking about sensitive people. So tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that.
I remember growing up as a kid, and my dad would say, Eva, you're too sensitive. And I know he was meaning, like, if I heard him say something that I would internalize, it would go right to, I was defensive. And he would say, Eva, you're too sensitive. But the internalization of it really felt more like I was observing more than what he was saying, and it didn't make sense. And so I didn't know neither of my parents were sensitive in this way. And we're, in other words, picking up on energies that are unseen.
Energies that are unseen. You're talking up my alley now.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're going to go there a little bit. So tell us, if you want to share, whatever you feel comfortable sharing about that, because I know that, we're still living in a world where we've got a lot of third dimensionally based people.
Yes. Well, and you know, when you have, I'm going to pull a statistic. 80% of the world believes in a higher level of something in charge and an afterlife of some kind, no matter what religion you call it. There's something more to us than just our bodies, our flesh and our bones, you know, this bag of flesh. So I've always been aware of a difference in me. I could see in my consciousness actions of others, and I didn't know how to articulate it very well until I became an adult, because again, my parents weren't very sensitive people. They weren't in touch with that other, you know, the other realm, as you want to call it, the other side of the veil, you might want to say. And I kind of went to the school of hard knocks and learned all of this on my own. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody to tell me that, hey, there's such a thing as energy centers in the body, and they're called chakras, and they're a result of us being alive and the heart pumping and the energies moving through us physically, in addition to the larger part of us. I mean, that's a lot of information right there. But yeah, it became a mission of mine and a hobby to learn, a personal endeavor to learn how to interact with this other part, the unseen part of the world, that was creating an impact in my relationships, my everyday life, and eventually my health.
Yeah, I definitely had dawning awareness of this as well. And I would say up until I started my journey 8 years ago, I was only passingly aware of it. You know, like, this is going to sound strange maybe, but when I was 16, my grandfather passed away. And this is actually a really beautiful story. So he passed away in the bathroom, in the second bathroom in his house. And by the time we got down there, because he lived in Texas and at the time we were living in New England, by the time we actually got down there, he'd already been at the funeral home, right? He'd been transported already. So he wasn't there anymore in the house. And I went into that bathroom, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I went in that bathroom, and then I stood in front of the mirror, and I just connected with him. And I was like, Grandpa, you know, I'm looking in the mirror at myself, and I'm like, I miss you so much. And I just burst into tears. And I felt this warm blanket of sparkles, or like little fire things, like little tiny sparkles all around me, like around my entire body. Like it was like a warm blanket, like of just sparkles all around me. And I just was, and then at the same time as I felt that, I smelled this sicky sweet smell that you smell in funeral parlors. And I'd never been inside one yet, so I didn't know what that was. And I'm like, I knew my grandpa was right there. Like he was right there holding me, and I knew it. And when I went to the funeral parlor, I smelled that smell. I was like, oh my God. Like I made the connection. Like he came to see me from that place. Like he came to be with me. So at that moment, I really knew that there was something to this. And but I didn't know what to do with it. And, you know, I brought a Ouija board with me down there. I don't know why I brought that. I don't even know how I got a hold of one, honestly. Like, I don't know. I don't remember that part. But I remember being, after that experience, I remember being alone at the house for a little bit. And I played that game by myself, and it moved. Like, it was like, oh. And it freaked me out. And I think it was my grandpa playing with me. But I was like, okay, I'm not touching that thing again. Like, it scared me. And I was away. I was like, I never explored that again for a long time because it freaked me out. You know,
it can be scary. I mean, I remember my very first experience where something moved in my presence, and it wasn't related to a person touching the object, and it was scary. And at the time, I was a recovering Catholic, and I had a picture, a smaller picture than this, on the wall behind me, and something very dramatic had just happened in the home. And I was praying about it. And I was sitting on my daughter's bed, and the room was empty. The house was mostly empty. And I kept hearing myself ask the question, what can I do? What is the resolution here? And the picture flew off the wall a foot away from my head and hit me, and then dropped to the bed. And it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, it would, right?
My first experience, well, it later came to my understanding that I had been ignoring the energies for so long, and I was meant to interact with them. And so what did I do? I got on the phone with a priest, and a priest that I had known for a little while, and but I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Got a hold of his cell phone number, and I called him. And he says to me, he goes, don't be so quick to try to get rid of whatever this is. Because I says, do I need to have a house clearing? Do I need to have, do you need to bless it? I was back in that mindset where
you were afraid of it.
I was afraid. And he says, and he, of all people, a Catholic priest, he goes, do not be so quick to get rid of the energy. It's trying to tell you something. It's trying to answer a question for you. And it was in that moment that I understood and believed that for every problem, there is an equal and perfect answer. Absolute, perfectly designed for the moment. And I was experiencing it. So that was the permission slip, so to speak, to enter into a whole new realm. I had a Catholic priest who was telling me, you can communicate with whatever this energy is because it needs to be a part of your life. And some people would find that as, I've heard people describe that as demonic, and it turned out not to be. It turned out that was the beginning of a long journey where myself and my girls, we both evolved and elevated our spiritual awareness so that people not only in our lives, we could smell, if they had passed and were on the other side of the veil, like your grandfather, you could smell what was going on with him. We would smell cologne of people who had passed and needed help getting over. This is all, my clients really don't know about any of this, so I'm sharing. But it has been transformational for the three of us, all three of us women who are sensitive beings, aware of other energies outside of ourselves. And we're working to help end suffering of people who, in what our experience has been, people whose lives have ended most immediately, and they didn't know they were gone and didn't know where they were. So their soul seemed to be just kind of floating around. And that's been our experience. We've been helping people, and they come to us by either sight, and all of our senses come into play. The girls will see them, or I will see a part of them, like the glasses or the way they used to wear their hair or something. And a message. I don't know what to do. I'm scared, or I'm angry, and their emotions would come into us. And we'd have to learn how to perceive, is that our emotion, or is that somebody here? Oh, somebody's here. And then we would talk to them and help guide them through to the other side. So we became like way showers for lost souls. It was very interesting. It
is, they call it psychopump. That's the name for it. There's a name for it, people. You can look it up.
All right.
Psychopump.
All right.
So yeah, just helping people cross over who got lost, right? Yeah. And so this is really good, and this is, so we got the woo-woo part of it over with, but
my favorite part.
I know, I love that part. But this is, to me, like when you start having these awarenesses, it's great. It's really interesting. It's fascinating. A lot of my job is comprised of this kind of stuff, right? This is what I do with people, is I help them connect with their ancestors, and I help clean up ancestral karma that's been hanging around, which is why those ancestors haven't crossed over, because they're still like stuck in that place, So a lot of us came to help that cleanup job, so I help with that too. But I think what's really interesting is that once you have these kinds of experiences, what it does is it opens up your mind so that you're not attached anymore to thinking what's true. Like it opens this door where you start to question like everything you've been told, and the way the people do things, and like the beauty thing, even like you start questioning, do I need to do that? Is that necessary? Is it true? Even, what is true? And we've been told so many things, it's kind of hard to start deciphering. And I know that you're helping people to ask those questions as well in their environments, right? So what's the kind of work tell more about that? What do you do with clients? Help their ancestors cross over.
and my clients, like I said, they really don't know that I do that. They're aware that I know how to read chakra centers, and I can, help clear what's going on with the chakra and realign and kind of figure
your ancestor clinging on to you.
it could be a spell. Yeah, I have found metaphysical daggers in people's chakra centers, keeping the energy from flowing, and it would get caught, and all kinds of weird things I've seen. And every time, so it's my curiosity. It's funny how it crosses over. It's I wonder if, you said the mind opens when you become more aware and you start questioning everything. And I bring that into that metaphysical, the other side of the veil in my world. I wonder if I can do this, and always I can. And so it's like stretching that boundaries and limits of what we really believe is to be true. And it's such a hard thing for people to overcome. We have been taught repeatedly, go to the doctor, tell the doctor what's wrong. He will write you a prescription and he will give you a pill, he or she or whatever, or tell you what to do. And it's just not enough to heal. It's enough to Band-Aid. It's enough to Band-Aid, but it's not enough. And people don't question as much as I would love them to. And I became a pain in the proverbial ass to ask the questions and say, well, why is this happening? What's going on? Why am I getting fibromyalgia? Why am I getting lumps in my breast and in my uterus? Why am I experiencing headaches every day that feel like migraines, but you're telling me they're not because I get them every day, and that's not a real symptom. It's a real symptom up here while I'm in pain, and every time the answers were, and I used to say they don't know, but what I have changed that to is they told me they don't know. And I had to eventually listen to that. As a community of people, they were telling me, we don't know the answer. We don't know why you're getting lumpy. We don't know why you're having headaches every day. Go take a pain pill. We don't know why you're going to be in a wheelchair by the age of 35. We just know that we have a wheelchair and we have the antidepressant, so go take that and be happy. And that was the message I was getting. And I said, no, that's not for me. No, this isn't okay. And it was that just, I don't know. I don't give up. I'm like a dog with a bone.
I think that's good. So a lot of that stuff, by the time people come to me, they kind of, sometimes they can be like, I'm the new pill, right? Like, I'm just going to fix it in a second.
Fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, I am good, people, but I'm not that good. So here's what I tell people, because I'm the founder of Skills Not Pills. I say, you've got to cultivate some skills.
Yes.
And awareness is the first skill. You've got to become aware and curious, right? And start looking at things from a higher perspective. So, because when you start opening that up and you say, okay, maybe there's nothing physically actually wrong with me, or maybe the thing that is physically manifesting is actually because of something else, then I can track it back to find that something else. And when I heal that something else, then all of a sudden magically this goes away. I'll share briefly, just so people have a concrete example. So like, I was working with a beautiful client. I love my client the other day. And she's been having this thing like pain in her head, like the back of her head, just pain, right? And it was so interesting because we've been tracking it for a while now, like, okay, pulling out pieces. And, a lot of it was emotional or things like that. Then we ended up doing this ancestral healing. And that cleared things. Like there was some stuff in her lineage that was just, traumatic. That was
I can see it.
Yeah, it was unresolved, right?
Uh-huh.
It was affecting the back of her head, okay? So we finally, I don't want to talk about why.
Yeah, I didn't say it.
No, we don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, great. We got that cleared up. Well, so the pain went away during the call. She's like, it's gone. I'm like, awesome. And then as we kept talking about things that were going on in her life, she started feeling guilty in her heart. It felt like waves. The pain came back. I was like, okay, now we know why it's there, right? It's
consciousness.
When you have the guilt in your heart, it causes this to hurt. It triggers that old ancestral pattern that's still, even though we did a clearing on it, it's going to take a little while for it to catch up to the physical, right? But isn't that cool? Now you know why. You can link the things together, but only when you take that journey to think outside the box do you ever get to that place.
And to dovetail onto that, I mean, you mentioned something, it takes a little while for the body to catch up. And this is a constant reminder that I have to give my clients. Give time to the body, be patient with it because it's mostly water. It takes longer for things to move through water. And our brains, we're in the world of air. We can think so quickly. We can come to answers so quickly. We can come to a decision quickly. But it's a different medium and our body needs longer for things to happen. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does. And so let's talk a little bit about the role of rest because I think rest, I'm a fire sign. Although I'm a water sign, I'm a Cancer. I'm actually a fire personality. I know my astrological chart is really interesting. So I have all this fire. I end up being like lava. So I can either be slow moving and like fiery, or I can be like, like that. Steam, right?
Yep.
So, but the importance of rest in order to let your body catch up and integrate the work that you've done. And if you've been kind of like, as most people in this Western culture, like,
go, go, go. Mm-hmm.
Like this, at some point, you're just going to get slammed and floored to like, sit down, be quiet, rest, don't do anything.
That's what happened to me. I mean, I was an executive at several different companies over the course of time while I was raising my girls. And I lost my job, my executive position, 3 different times, at least, because of burnout. And it was not knowing how to take care of myself, not knowing how to rest between my appointments, not knowing how to get past the anxiety and I ended up creating insomnia because I had chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression. It all kind of goes together. And not getting that rest meant that my body was never getting a chance to rejuvenate. And it's just as important to rest between the things that we do during the day as it is to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. And instead, and I'm guilty of this, I'll just confess it. Instead of resting, you put concealer on, right? We put that concealer on and then we cover it and we like, and we put the eyeliner and we like, okay,
and drink
look
coffee.
How alive I am.
Yeah.
Right? And then we drink coffee and we like take our selfie. Right?
Hopped up on caffeine.
Instead of just being like, you know what? I'm flat out friggin' exhausted.
Yeah, and there's a difference between, a lot of people are feeling this, and I have a hotline, people call in, and I ask them, I says, tell me what prompted you to call? And they recognize that there is a difference between that person who they are and the inside that they hide from the world, and the one that they portray. It's the one that they say everybody else gets to see. It's that one in the selfie.
Having a perfect life. I'm doing it. I'm so winning.
Yeah.
That's a coin of phrase.
Yeah. So they want to, my job is to help them make that gap less and less and less over time until finally who they are is what shines through all the time.
And as a practitioner, I'm just going to comment on this, like as a guide, as somebody that's in the role of like mentoring and helping other people, right? As clearly you are, and I am as well. It's kind of like other health professionals feel like they have to hide that part. They have to like be like, oh no, I've got it together. Because if I don't reveal this, if I reveal this part, they're going to think, oh, you don't have it together. I'm not working for you. I'm not going to work with you because you don't have like the perfect hide button all the time. Like you're not on constant dopamine.
No.
And this is the dopamine society, right? I mean, that's where this comes from.
Yeah, it's a trained thing. And not to leave men out of this conversation, I think they're sturdier in their sensibilities as far. Women are just, we need more rest. And we almost wear a badge of honor on ourselves, and we're like, look at us, we've got, we've worked 12 hours today, and we're going to go home and cook dinner and clean a house and whatever else that they put on themselves to do, and get exhausted to the point of martyrdom and say it was okay because it's all for the family. No, you're not going to be around to take care of the family if you don't take care of yourself first. Love yourself so that you can love others. And that's a big one that I live in.
Yeah, that martyr dragon, that sure is a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's all part of the victim, rescuer, perpetrator triangle. So, yeah, every time I catch myself in that, because as a server, as somebody who's in a service position, you can get trapped in that place of martyrdom, because there's so much to do in the world. I mean, take a look around. I know I've been looking at the things. I try not to look at that stuff because it gets me worked up. And, but when you look out into the world, there's so much going on right now. It's like, where do I even start? There's so much hoocha, like.
Start with us.
God, there's so much going on in the world. So, yeah.
All we can do is be the light and carry that with us and find others who have the light within. And as we gather together, we create more light.
We create more light. Yeah. So how do you help clients? Like, what's the specific work that you do with people? You help them see their chakras. You help them understand. Tell us a little bit more about what you do.
I stay in my lane when it comes to the business of my work. The Elevate Institute is all about hair analysis. So it starts there.
What does your hair tell you? What is your? That's your body, right? I mean, and it's constantly growing out. So that means it's the latest information. Is that true?
It's information that helps us find out the relationship of minerals in the body. It becomes very, very physical. I call it the triad. I work in the part of the triad that is the physical, and then you've got the mental, and you've got the emotional, spiritual part of it. And the three work together. And, as there's a lot of spiritual coaches, and there's a lot of mental, mindset coaches. I'm the physical coach. I'm the person that you come to that rounds it out. So you can have, I feel like I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but I want to say this. You can be working very, very closely with one of the other two types of coaches, and all of a sudden hit a brick wall and go, this isn't working anymore. It's not sticking anymore. It's because one of the other two, and probably a physical imbalance, is keeping things from moving forward. And that's what I found, and that's how I started. So I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, blessed with insomnia, and I put in a search string of all of my different 30 maladies, and I was diagnosed and I had symptoms of, and I came across nutritional balancing using hair mineral analysis. It was just an article talking about imbalance and the emotions that can come from being imbalanced, the copper toxicity that can create the anger, the irritation, the I feel calm, why aren't I calm, that kind of feeling. And it was just, it made so much sense to me that I called a local practitioner the next morning and told her I was her next client. And that's how I got into it. But you can see what's going on with your adrenals, your thyroid, how you're processing your sugar, if you're digesting well, what kind of metabolism you need to support. You can see all of that and then have a clear path of how to get through it. And talk about rest. I mean, this all relates. If you can get the body to a state of rest and calm, then it will start to heal itself. And that's all I do is I reveal what's going on in the body so that we can have a plan of action that you can take and apply. And that's it. It's so simple.
That is so simple and so reassuring. So, and it changes all the time, right? So as your body chemistry is changing, then you get another sample to kind of see what's going on now. How much closer are you? Because it's changing. I think our cells completely regenerate every 7 days or something.
Oh, well,
right?
all of the cells throughout the entire body, including bones, change every 7 years.
Okay, so every single cell.
Yeah.
In 7 years. Okay. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and if you're working at all levels, you're working at the energetic level, you can prevent a lot of the physical stuff. Once you get the physical sort of cleared up, then you could start working at the emotional, mental, and energetic. And when you work your way out like that, then you can deal with problems on the energetic level. They don't come in.
And that they don't come in, but it's even more, for me, that was part of my awakening journey and developing and nurturing my sensitive skills. Some people call it shamanistic skills. So those came to me as I became less staticky. And I say staticky, it could be an imbalance. It could be a toxic metal. It could be a chemical. It could be a medicine that I took that was still in my body, because that doesn't clear out ever. Right. Lets you do something.
The environment, of so many things.
Yeah, well, and plus we're born with imbalances that our mother had. They're passed to us in the womb. So we're not born perfect like we imagine that we might be. And then you spend your whole life, as you grow up, overcoming those imbalances. So you can actually get to a place where you are rebuilding that foundation from birth. You can. It just takes knowing what your body needs. And that's what the hair analysis does, is it makes it very clear. It says, this is what you need for that. And we can kind of bang it into place so that it expands your emotional lanes of the freeway. They kind of open up, and you're able to process better. You're able to think better. You have more energy and clarity of thought. You now can overcome. I hear this all the time, Eva, I feel stronger, not just muscularly, but also mentally and emotionally. I'm able to handle the problems of life as they come up with much more ease. So these are the things that come as a result of working through the static in the body. That's cool.
And as you get that clear, you start to become what I like. Michelle Norris from PaleoFX says is you find your new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how you raise up, because you're gifted this experience of a new normal condition that feels a lot better, and you're like, hey, that's great. then your work is to develop the skills to stay at that place or to even get higher, like improve,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think that's where we are now is there, you know, everything is in perfect timing. I became ill very young. I say I was blessed to do that so that I could get better and be a leading example of what it looks like on the journey. Not that I'm perfect because I love my whiskey. I drink, but it's, you know, it's all in measured amounts, and I know how to enjoy it without, you know, making myself sick or whatever. But, anyways, there's a whole journey available for everyone, and depending on where they choose to start, eventually they need to get to somebody like me who's working with the physical, and that's why I'm here. It's all in service. It's all in service. It's all it is.
So now, how do people work with you? How do they get a hold of you, and how do they work with you?
I have a website. A lot of people will find me there. It's theelevateinstitute.com, and information about the Reveal hair analysis is there, as well as a free gift. But I have clients all over the world, and most of them are here in the United States, and most of those in the United States are here in California. And so it's all over the internet and mail. So I offer a free hair test kit for anyone who wants to have their hair tested, and then they send it in at their leisure, and I process it with them and work with them one-on-one to reveal what's going on in their body and help them get better if they so choose. Yeah, so there's a free gift if they want to take advantage of that. It's a free thyroid assessment where you can take the beauty treatments you've been doing and look at why you've been doing them, and you kind of you counter up what your tally is to see what the likelihood is of a thyroid imbalance without having to draw blood. Yeah,
that's so without having to draw blood, people. I can't stand those. Ugh. I don't think
me neither.
Yucky. Okay, well, that's awesome, Eva. Well, I really recommend you guys check that out. I think the link is in the broadcast. If not, I'll make sure that it is, so you guys can easily contact Eva and check that out. And yeah, and find out. I'm going to do it. I'm going to send you a hair sample, find out what's up. I think it's just because I'm working like really hard and integrating without stopping for 8 years. Do you think I could have a part to do it? Oh gosh,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and the body gets this broken down a little bit. And if we can make it a fortress of the nutrient minerals it prefers, this will go a lot easier for us.
Yes,
because this energy work is the new normal. It is, and it's only going to get faster. It's only going to get
faster. And the thing is all the energetic work also upgrades your cellular structures and tissues. And yeah, it's intense.
Like us.
It's so intense. So, well, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you guys for tuning in. Those of you who are waiting for this at noon, I so apologize, and I'm so glad that you tuned in later. Appreciate you, and thank you to all the guides who helped to make this possible, that we got to actually have this conversation today.
It's beautiful, just as it was supposed to be.
Blessings. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and check back with us next week for more Skills Not Pills. Bye.